For those who went to the cinema expecting to see an opera of unrestrained violence in Robocop, they were not at all disappointed. Robocop executed satire as skillfully as it did explosions. The movie stars Peter Weller, Nancy Allen, Ronnie Cox, Cutwood Smith, and Miguel Ferrer. It is set in a crime-ridden Detroit in the near future and focuses on a police officer named Alex Murphy, who is murdered by a gang of criminals and later revived by the megacorporation Omni Consumer Products as a cyborg and law enforcement agent, Robocop. Without memories of his past life, this agent carries out a brutal campaign against crime while struggling with lingering fragments of his humanity. The idea for the movie came about because a guy named Ed hated his job. Ed Neumeyer, restless as a story editor at Universal Pictures, began playing with the idea of a robotic cop. Meanwhile, a student named Michael Miner had a similar notion that he called Supercop. They merged their ideas into a script titled Robocop, The Future of Law Enforcement. Despite its satirical tone, the title seemed so ridiculous that they had trouble attracting interest, until Orion Pictures showed up. Orion had achieved massive success with The Terminator in 1984 and decided to bet on this script. Neumeyer commented that being on the set of Blade Runner inspired the idea of robots in law enforcement, but Robocop's stoic manners and one-dimensional actions owe much to Judge Dredd, the British comic book cop who presides over a decaying urban landscape. The production designer even borrowed elements from Dredd's helmet before settling on the sleek suit scene in the film. In 1984, the writer attempted to turn the story into a comic book as a springboard for a movie. He pitched the idea to Stan Lee. Before Lee could decide, both attended an early screening of The Terminator, which also featured a humanoid protagonist. After the screening, Lee told the writer, "Buddy, you're never going to top that," and passed on the idea. Peter Weller became a mime for his role as Robocop, knowing the suit would limit his facial expressions. Orion Pictures executives suggested he find a mime coach to become more physically expressive. He did, and spent months working on fluid movements, incorporating dance training. The actor even dressed in football gear and walked around Central Park to get used to moving with bulk. However, he could barely move once he donned the real suit. After many design debates with the director, effects artist Rob Bottin didn't deliver the suit until the day they were set to start filming with it. It took Weller hours to get into it. As uncomfortable as expected, all his mime training was useless. Production was halted for several days to allow him to adjust to his movements in the suit. Although the movie was set in Detroit to reflect the collapse of the city's automotive industry, not much was filmed there. Location scouts determined the city's skyline didn't look futuristic enough. Instead, production was based mainly in Dallas, where summer temperatures regularly exceeded 100 degrees. Weller could lose up to 8 pounds in a single day of shooting. He spent much of his time between takes hydrating, or with air hoses pumping cool air into the suit. The actor also instructed producers to issue a memo to the cast and crew, informing them that no one should refer to him by his real name. He preferred to be called Murphy or Robo, but much of the cast ignored his memo and called him by his real name anyway. Weller, who had handled firearms as a teenager, could spin pistols, but said trying to spin this weapon was like spinning half a baseball bat. In addition to having a very narrow field of vision and sweating profusely inside the uncomfortable suit, Weller also struggled to hear while wearing it. For the scene involving the shootout with drug dealers, Weller got into the mood by wearing headphones connected to a Walkman, playing Red Rain by Peter Gabriel. He called it wildly, psychotically fun. Realizing the film was behind schedule and over budget, the director and producer deliberately skipped a crucial scene, Officer Murphy's death. When production wrapped, they returned to Los Angeles and regretfully informed the executives that they hadn't filmed Murphy's death. After watching the footage they had shot, the executives were so impressed by the performances that they gave the filmmakers more money, and the scene was shot in a repurposed warehouse in Los Angeles. For the scene involving an attempted assault on a woman, the script originally had Robocop shoot next to the victim's cheek, killing the attacker. While preparing to shoot the scene as written, the director noticed that the actress, Donna Keegan, had her legs apart. This sparked an idea. Robocop could shoot between her legs and hit the attacker in the groin. The screenwriter loved the idea, so they filmed that famous scene. Watch Robocop again. It was a popular movie when it was released.
Here we end. Thank you for your attention. Like and subscribe. There are many interesting things ahead. Good luck.